Good people. Wanted to hop on do a quick reaction of the Detroit Lions game. So they just wrapped up not too long ago. Detroit wins 24-14. Huge win on the road in the absolute pouring rain, which I did not realize. I didn't check the weather or anything to see what that was going to look like. But yeah, the rain obviously had a pretty big impact on the Packers, and not so much the Lions, oddly enough, because the Lions, obviously, as we know, play indoors and the Packers do not. But the Lions, from what I can remember, had no drops. The Packers had, I think, at least 5 drops that I remember them talking about. It seemed like Jordan Love, because he's a guy that does have a big arm, he didn't do a great job of kind of laying off on some of the throws, because it just, with throwing with that much velocity, it's really difficult to catch the ball when it's soaking wet. And his guys, multiple guys, had issues catching the ball, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and they had quite a few drops. But this game was just a masterclass, almost start to finish, from the Detroit Lions, especially from the offense. I thought they did a terrific job, just being aggressive where they needed to be, and really just imposing their will in the game. Both teams actually ran the ball pretty well, but the Lions just did a much better job of, when the game was in the balance. Timely throws by Jared Goff. He was terrific today. I think he had maybe 4 or 5 incompletions. Didn't throw for a ton of yards, but just was there, when we needed it. Jordan Love, I think, ended up throwing for like 275 yards. I think the defense as a whole did a terrific job. The couple caveats that I would have is, number one, man, our pass rush, it's non-existent. It is just truly non-existent. We could not get pressure on Jordan Love outside of maybe 1 or 2 snaps. On the plus side, one of the snaps was the interception that Kirby Joseph took to the house, which really blew the game wide open. And then there was, just another one throughout the game. But it just, I mean, if you're Brad Holmes, seeing that game today should motivate you to get a deal done. I'm a bit cynical, so I am one of the I'll see it or I'll believe it when I see it types when it comes to Brad Holmes and making trades, because that's just not a big thing that he does, obviously, in his track record, his time here with the Lions. So I'm a bit cynical. I there's like 1% of me that thinks all these reports and things are out there just so the fan base isn't going crazy and being upset with Brad Holmes. I'm hoping that the 99% that I'm thinking that, potentially Zadarius Smith is going to be traded here soon. I hope that ends up happening, but we will see. But I actually think they should go Zadarius Smith, get him, and also call the Carolina Panthers and see if they'd be willing to trade for Jadeveon Clowney. He last year had a pretty good year with Baltimore, and this year I think is playing. He'd be a better pass rusher than what we have on the team. 2 of the Lions that I spotlighted before the game in my previous video was, one, Terrion Arnold, which I thought he played terrific today. You didn't hear his name called outside of that special teams, flag that he got, but he played really well in coverage. I know the Packers didn't, throw it around all that much, but I thought he played well. I thought all of our corners played well. Robertson would love to not have that boneheaded 15-yard penalty. But the second Lion that I had spotlighted was James Houston, and he did not provide any real pressure today as far as the pass rush goes. So to me, that is why we should go get not only Zadarius Smith, but also Clowney as well. We desperately need to fill that hole that was left when Hutch went down. And honestly, I think we should have addressed that even with Hutchinson coming into the beginning of this season and even when he was playing on the team. You just have to have more than one guy to rush the passer to be successful. But the Lions, just a terrific game. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Brian Branch getting ejected. I thought that was I thought that was a bit aggressive. Um, I mean, we saw it today. Like Chris Olave took a pretty serious hit, and he was carted off with a concussion. There wasn't even a flag thrown on that play, let alone an ejection. I was just watching the end of Rams Seahawks, and Kobe Bryant had a pretty hard hit. I didn't think it was flag worthy, but it was a very hard hit. And if you're telling me that, Brian Branch has to get ejected and this other one doesn't even get a flag, I, have some concerns there. So, uh, nonetheless, with the Lions, even the defense, I mean, giving up, the Packers had 6 points majority of that game. I think Packers scored that last touchdown. I want to say there was maybe 10 or 12 minutes left in the game, maybe less than that. But they did a terrific job. I mean, Aaron Glenn, he deserves kudos. I was someone who was really hard on him a couple of years ago, and this year they have done a terrific job. Like I said, they overhauled the corners. Carlton Davis is new, Amik Robinson is new, Terry Arnold is new, and those guys are doing a terrific job. So it definitely leads you to believe that, hey, if you give him the talent, he can definitely coach those guys up. So been doing just a terrific job. Yeah, just a huge win. Like I said, Lions now are 2-0 in the division, if I'm not mistaken. Both of those wins were on the road. So, obviously we're going to play the Vikings again. We're going to play the Packers again, but we get them at home. So you always love to get those on the road division wins, especially relatively early on in the season. So super excited with that. And next up are the Houston Texans, which they just lost on Thursday to the Jets. They're a really good team. They haven't been playing the way that they played like towards the end of last year and when they did win that playoff game. They are dealing with some injuries as well. I think Nico Collins was out this past Thursday, and they have another Stephon Diggs is out for the year as well. So they're dealing with some injuries, and but hey, it's the NFL. We're dealing with injuries as well. You just got to go and take care of business. So Lions 24, Packers 14, another win and another NFC North opponent, and the Lions are extending their lead for the number 1 seed. So we shall see what happens next week. But that is it for me. Y'all have a good one.